Welcome to Billy Ho Sports. Thank you for tuning in. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and don't forget to like and comment on the videos. I hope you enjoy the show. Now, let's go. Hello, Billy Ho here, coming at you with another NFL Week 4 DraftKings video. We are going to do the best running back plays, lock button types, maybe even some lower owned guys and some cheapies. So, welcome to Billy Ho Sports. I consider myself an experienced DFS player in both the PGA and the NFL. I play other sports too, but not very often, not as much as I do golf and football. But I have my ups and downs, and I win some and I lose some. But overall, I feel like I have a solid grasp on what needs to be done to build, successful rosters and whatnot. So I like to focus on DraftKings contests because they have the best setup and scoring system and contests, things of that nature. Speaking of contests, Billy Ho's NFL Week 4 has been out. It's getting pretty full. I'd like to go ahead and get that filled just as soon as possible. So I'll put that in the comment section and you can jump on in. I also have a PGA contest for Sanderson Farms this week. That will be all around Twitter and other things. So BILLYAH 40. Billy AH 40. Not hard. That's the Twitter machine. Now, this is going to be an early look at some of the best running backs to play on the main slate. And we have 12 games on the main slate this week, as we have a 9:30 a.m. Eastern kickoff time for the London game. Now, be sure to stick around. And I know people say that a lot, but I mean it. I got a couple of guys toward the end of the video that are dirt cheap, and they may gain popularity as the week moves on. And no, it's not Jamal Williams. So stick around. I'll give you a couple of cheap punts to help you afford those pay up quarterback wide receiver stacks. I think that those are going to be key this week. So you're going to have to save salary somewhere. So stick around and we'll school you on that. Now let's look at the big board. All right. Once again, Jonathan Taylor leads off as the highest priced running back. Another disappointment somewhat last week. The Colts offensive line is just not run blocking for him. And 8,800, really difficult. I drafted him number 1 overall. He was number 1 with a bullet overall picks for me. But man, this is just, the carries are there, 21 carries. But I mean, 71 yards and no touchdowns. Matt Ryan, they didn't go to him in the red zone. He threw it 2 touchdown passes to some fourth tight end, Woodsy the Owl. That really sucks because he's losing me fantasy football games in my season long. So I might have to play the show me card, although I think he could have success against Tennessee this week. It's just really hard to pay that price when you've got stud quarterbacks that you're going to have to pay for, and stud wide receivers and stud tight ends. And there's value. There's guys that are getting the same amount of volume and the same amount of opportunities. And they might even have just as good offensive lines. So I can't feel good about paying that price. But actually, and this is really weird because I was the complete opposite, I may be willing to pay the freight on Christian McCaffrey at 8,700. Now, CMC's in a good spot at home versus Arizona. They are super feeding him the rock. 8,700 is more than fair. The problem is no love in the pass game. I mean, he has gotten but he's not getting the yardage. Remember him? He's like 7 for 90. He almost double bonuses when he's at his peak. So 26 yards in the receiving game on 4 catches is good for your average running back. Like somebody else, Derrick Henry would be good with 4 for 26 because he can get 150. But McCaffrey's approaching that. I mean, he's got 2 back-to-back 100-yard games. He's just missing touchdowns. And he can score some touchdowns. So this game, I think, against a weaker Arizona defense, Arizona traveling across country from west to east. It is a 4 o'clock game, so they don't have to worry about that. But Baker's and the only problem is Baker's not a QB that typically checks down to his running backs. He's always looking to push it. So if the play's not kind of specifically called, like McCaffrey's the second read, or, because when the play breaks down and you go through your progressions, you ought to be able to look over to your running back and dump it off to him. But Baker doesn't do that. He continues to look to see if the bigger play is available, and that's the play he goes with, or he throws it out of bounds or incomplete, or something really bad happens. So I still think he's getting the volume on the ground. I think he just needs at least 1 and possibly 2 touchdowns. It's not inconceivable that he won't get a 2-touchdown game in this affair because Carolina's defense is pretty stout. And Arizona runs rapid fast. So Carolina's going to get more opportunities to possess the football. So I probably lean as far as paying up for guys. CMC looks like maybe my favorite, but Henry's another one. I think people are going to chase. He was really close to breaking open last week. 25 points is nice, but that's barely 3x. So 5 receptions, 58 yards is great. If they can keep that up, that would be awesome because I don't know what happened here because he had like 80 yards, he had a ton of yards in the first half. So I don't know why he got shut down in the second half, but he did get vultured at the goal line by Tannehill. So he could have had 2 touchdowns. So he's got 30-point upside this week. The last time Tennessee played Indianapolis, it was 34-31 at Indy. So it's not like they can't score points. And the over under is like way low. It's like 42, I think, or 42 and a half. So I would lean the over on that. I don't see how they couldn't both score in the 20s. They both move the ball and they're not super slow. So Henry is in play, but I'm definitely not as hyped on him as I was last week. I was really hyped on him, but he just didn't get there. Now, Barkley, 8K at home after an excellent game versus Dallas. I mean, he caught 4 passes for 45 yards. That's what we want. That's definitely 8.5 points from the receiving game is great because he's always got touchdown upside, at least one in him. 81 yards against a stout Dallas defense, and now he gets the Chicago Bears, who are not so good at the old run game there. And Damian Pierce just had a fine game last week versus this run D. He ran over 100 yards. So I think there's no problem 3X and Saquon Barkley. He's probably going to be the first cash game guy you play at running back. So he is definitely in play for me. He's going to be a single one-off. I'm not playing him in a stack. I'm not running back but you can't play, you could do Herbert, but the rule of thumb is you don't play running backs from opposing teams in the same game. So where do you go from there? Herbert catches passes, Barkley catches passes. If you wanted to really, truly be unique, you could play both running backs. Be honest with you, it wouldn't be the worst idea in the world. And we'll get to Herbert in a minute. Nick Chubb at 7,900 at Atlanta. Atlanta's run D is not terrible. They rank in the top 5 in points allowed versus running backs through 3 games. And I could still see Chubb getting there with a touchdown or two and pushing that 100-yard bonus. So it's not like Chubb's not in play, but he is that boom bust guy. So it's either 3 touchdowns or it's, 80 yards in a cloud of dust. And and then you also have to toss in Kareem Hunt at 6K as a nice lower owned play and cheaper guy, because Hunt can always catch his passes and always seems to rotate in at the right time to vulture that touchdown. It's much easier for him to hit 3X. Um, so I'll look deeper into that coming up. Like I said, Atlanta's run defense is not terrible. There's 6th on here, but, grain of salt. Austin Eckler, 7,700. Interesting play. Was huge in the pass game once again last week after they got their doors blown off by the Trevor Lawrence squad, Jacksonville Jags. He still had 8 receptions on 8 targets for 48 yards. That's what you want from Eckler. You give him a 12.8 point receiving day, and you thinking, wow, okay. But then he gets 4 attempts for 5 yards. And that's part of the game script. They got so far behind. He caught more passes or as many passes. So it was just that type of game. They're at Houston. I think he'll get more rushing attempts. I think you see more of the 14, and I think you see more of a 60-70, and then he gets in the end zone, but you're probably going to be 4. He could be 4 for 55, though. So I'm going to give him 10 points receiving, and then we're going to give him another 7. So I'm going to say he's got 17, and then if he gets in the end zone, there you go. I think he's a safe play. I think he's got a good safe floor this week versus Houston, if you want to go that route. Now, the next couple of guys, Aaron Jones is a volume prohibitive guy. Like I said, he's boom bust. He can turn 12 carries into 15 carries into a $132. But like I said, that Bears defense is weak taught. New England's defense much better against the run. I see more along the lines of a 10.6 game than I do a 35-point game. So I'm going to pass on old Aaron Jones. I think Swift might miss. Najee Harris would be probably a good pass. He's a no for GPPs. I think he's his offensive line is just shit. But the volume might get you there in cash. And they are going against the Jets, so they may have a slight advantage in the game script. He's getting the volume and not catching as many passes as you want. So his ceiling seems to be somewhat capped. So, if you want to just safe, I think he gets you 13 to 15 easily. So if you want to go that route, there you go. Jamal Williams splitting too much time with MG3. I'm not ready to pay 6,600 for that. Cordell Patterson, 6,500, looking kind of bell cow-ish. Beginning to show why I was so high on him in my season-long drafts. Very good game versus a weak run D in Seattle, but now he gets a home game versus versus Cleveland Browns. And, they're not they're about middle of the road, 15th allowed, 15th in points allowed to running backs. So I think they also might be missing Myles Garrett, who was in that car accident this week. He's banged up. I would think they'd err on the side of caution and give him the week off. But, we don't know. I mean, sometimes I've been in car accidents and you get a little banged up and you're sore for a couple of days and then you're fine. They said strained shoulder and strained bicep or something like that. I don't know. We'll keep an eye on it. But that would only help because, how intricate Myles Garrett is to the entire Cleveland defense. So Pat's going to get the majority of the run, and I do hope he sees an uptick in the pass game this week. What I would do in this game, and what I'm probably going to do, is mini stack it 1v1 and take Patterson with Amari Cooper on the other side. Vegas seems to think they're going to score some points in this game. They've got the total at right around 50 points. So let's go. Next guy is going to be James Robinson, 6,400. A guy I'm going to have some. The guy is I can't doubt him anymore. Really, he's a nose for the end zone guy. Scored every week so far. He can get loose if you let him. 50-yard run there. So he's got decent floor, and I think he's got a pretty good ceiling. He needs to get a little bit more involved in the passing game like he used to, because if you remember a couple of years ago with Gardner, he's all they had. So he would get 9 targets in a game plus get the 17 carries. So that's why you're not seeing 30, because he's just not – there's just better weapons and a better quarterback, better system, Doug Peterson. Everything's better. So, you know what? It's kind of funny because Jacksonville not being not the doormat they were anymore. And guess what? Doug Peterson is going to Philly for the big revenge game. Interesting there. That's Narrative Street. But, you know, he's definitely in play. Now, after that, we look at Connor. Not big on Connor. That Carolina defense is legit. Monty likely going to miss, and Zeke is just not what he used to. And Pollard is looking sharper than he is. And plus, they're splitting. They're really, really getting a lot closer to the 50-50 split. Now, they were grinding this. They grinded this game right here. Now, they might do the same thing against Dallas. Against Washington. They might just grind this one out too at home, because they both looked good. Zeke had he had 73 yards and he got the touchdown. And then Pollard ripped off a long 46-yarder and he got over 100 yards. But he didn't get any targets. One target, but he's normally the guy that's catching passes. So it was really just a really run heavy. Like I said, 13 and 15, they rushed it almost 30 times. So that was a real run heavy game. And this one might be as well. So it might be a stay away for me. I thought I had a little bit of interest in Pollard, but the upside being capped and a big rivalry game. So I don't know if there's going to be enough scoring to be had. So, but the man right here, like I said earlier, if Swift misses, if the rumors are true and the shoulder and everything else, ankle and whatnot, banged up injuries that he has, if they feel like giving him a week off, they may run him out in this game and then give him next week off. I don't know. But he was super limited anyway. No, that's wrong. I'm sorry. He did have 20 attempts. He was limited in the previous couple of games. But I don't know. Well, that's Jamal Williams. Swift, I am correct on that. Swift was limited. Jamal Williams got the big carries because Detroit pulled ahead in that game. And then they made that mistake of giving Jamal Williams 20 carries heavily in the second half and allowed Minnesota to get back in the game, and that's what got them beat. So there's still some coaching going on there because they were throwing. Of course, actually ASB, Amon-Ra St. Brown, the ankle injury probably hurt more than that, because he left the game and then got his ankle retaped and just was not the same player coming back in. He only had 2 more catches for a couple more yards. So he had like 6 for 73, which is definitely, the guy can't run for 100 yards every game. So, you got to forgive that. But I got to feel like the ankle had something to do with it. And we need to keep an eye on his injury as well, because if Swift and Amon-Ra St. Brown both miss, Jamal Williams is a slam dunk, and Seattle's run defense is almost dead last in the league. So 6,100. It's going to be massive chalk, but I'm fearing you're going to have to eat it. Singletary might be worth a play down here. I'm skipping these guys. Gibson, I don't have any interest there. Singletary, I think this was a product of the game script. He's not getting 11 targets for 78 yards again. Miami was just so aggressive with the blitzing and the rush. I guess that maybe Allen just wasn't prepared for it, but he did a lot of dumping off, and I don't think Baltimore blitzes near as much as I'll have to do more research into how Baltimore might play this game, but Singletary is the guy you want to play. I mean, regardless, he's the guy with the most upside if you do go running back. But 5,900, like I said, you're going to have 6,100, and then the next guy I talk about might be even better. So that's going to be Khalil Herbert, who I think will step in if Monty misses. 20 for 157 and 2 touchdowns. Monster. He's probably going to be super chalk because they are going to the Giants, who Dallas just ripped at. I just got done discussing. They had 2 running backs with nearly 100 yards apiece. So, boy, licking my chops for some Khalil Herbert. That sounds pretty good to me. He's probably the best pay down option in this area based on volume that he's going to get if Monty misses. Pierce, pretty good, I think, against LAC. He's in play. Not looking to him too much, though, because of Herbert. But he'd be a great hit pivot off of Herbert if you think Herbert flops, because they're starting to really give this dude some work. And it's not like the Los Angeles Chargers are some kind of run defense juggernaut. They're at home. They may trust him a little more. This might be a win coming. Another upset. Chargers lose this game, and they can kiss the playoffs goodbye, I think. But them's the breaks, right? I don't think Dobbins or Harris I have much interest yet. Michael Carter, Breece Hall. It's interesting. I was immediately drawn to Breece Hall because I thought he looked like he was definitely taking the reins last week because he had finally outsnapped Michael Carter and caught passes. He had a pretty nice day. Let's take a look at it real quick. Only 8 carries, but they were down, scripted out of the game. That's probably why he saw a lot of dump offs, but 6 for 53, not terrible. I mean, if you can get, to 15 points without scoring a touchdown, that's worth paying for. Now, the caveat is this the week Zoomer Zach Wilson comes back. They're expecting him to play this week. He's more familiar with Carter. So I don't know where to go with that. It's and him debuting at Pittsburgh. The Steelers defense is not great, but you saw what they did week 1 when they had the Bengals and a shaky quarterback. So I don't know. That might be some stay away action for me. Stevenson, I played some last week, but this is the guy I want a little bit more of this week is J.D. McKissick. J.D. McKissick at 5,100 versus Dallas. His work in the pass game is really on the uptick. He that's back-to-back weeks with 7 to 9 targets and a good solid floor at double digits. He doesn't seem to get the carry. If he would just get maybe one of these carries, he breaks off for 10 or 15 yards, and then he could sneak his way into the end zone or something. But he's definitely in play, I think, versus Dallas. Another grinded out type game. Dallas's run defense is really solid. They for the most part, did a pretty good job on Saquon Monday night, but Saquon's Saquon. I mean, he's just going to break loose. The volume alone, you can't hold Saquon down. He's just too good. Now, Antonio Gibson, on the other hand, if one fumble and, who knows what can happen. McKissick could get a lot of play in this game. He would be a good dude to do a mini stack with. If you wanted to play Lamb or something, you could run it back with McKissick. But I don't have a lot of interest in doing any kind of – Wentz might, that might be time to go back to Wentz after the one down week. This could be you could do Wentz and McKissick. it would be a low priced, game stack. You could do, and then maybe Curtis Samuel and run it back with Lamb or whatever. So that's not out of the realm of possibilities. Keep that in my lizard brain. Now, I hope you did stick around because that was one of my dudes right there. I don't know if McKissick will be on a lot of radars this week, but he could if he finds the end zone. I mean, he can 3x without scoring, I think. But if he scores, he's going to 4x. So, without further ado, the grand champion of the pay down guys is going to be one Rashard Penny. 4,900 seems underpriced to me, to say the least. Fifth, you give me a running back at 4,900, in a team that's going to be in a competitive game, 14 for 66. That's not terrible. I told you Atlanta's defense is not bad. And San Francisco and Denver's D's are both good. So this might be kind of a breakout game for Rashad Penny. So you heard it here first. Now, you put this guy in a dome game against a run filtering defense, I believe, in the Lions, and I'm ready for it. Detroit has given up the most rushing touchdowns of any team through 3 games. They are also giving up a little over 5 yards per carry to running backs. So he will be in a lot of my, expensive quarterback game stacks because he's so cheap. And also, you got to also mention if Detroit is missing either Swift or ASB or both, the Lions are in big trouble. Because if they're missing both those guys, they're not going to be able to contain. They're not going to be able to keep up. And Seattle can up tempo, and we might see 100-yard and 2 touchdown game out of Rashad Penny. So I got big time interest in him this week. And then also, if ASB does miss on the run back, I would definitely have interest in Chark and Reynolds. So either guy would make a great 1v1 cheap stack. So I'm digging that. And I'm digging the show. And I'm done. I hope you got something out of that. I thought there was some pretty good low-key plays in there. Not everybody's going to talk about. I didn't ramble on about every single running back there was. So you got to have a pool starting off in the first of the week. And even if it's not everybody, like I won't have everybody on this page, but I just wanted to bring up enough guys to get you thinking and narrow your choices down from 20 running backs to 15 running backs would be helpful, to 10 running backs, to 7 running backs, and then that way, you can move on from there. So once again, thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button for me on your way out. And until the next video, we'll see you soon. Take care.